Welcome to Rising Woman Leaders. I'm your host, Meredith Ram, and I believe the time has come for women to share their gifts, their voice, and their stories. I love seeing women spiritually and financially empowered, thriving in their life's work, and doing what they love every day. I've gathered a community of women living their dreams to tell us their stories and inspire us to step into more courage, self-love, and feminine leadership. If you like this podcast, follow me on Instagram at Rising Woman Leaders and sign up for email updates at risingwomanleaders.com. Now get cozy with a journal and a cup of tea. I hope you enjoy today's show. Kelly and I are so excited to announce with you today that we are leading a women's retreat on the Big Island of Hawaii, April 17th to 22nd, 2020. Join us for daily yoga, being right on the water in the bay where the dolphins come in the early morning hours. We'll go snorkeling, we'll go swimming, we'll hopefully get to swim with the wild dolphins during the week. We'll go on hikes and have cacao ceremony and sound healing. It's going to be just an epic adventure and time to deepen your own connection to Mother Earth and the sacred feminine and your own healing and just feeling really supported in sisterhood. Kelly and I met in Egypt at this time a year ago, and so much magic has unfolded since then. I really look forward to sharing this conversation with you so you can hear more about her journey as well as more details about the Big Island Women's Retreat. It's called Wild Heart. You can find more details about that at risingwomanleaders.com/retreat. We'll also include more details in the show notes. Definitely take some time to check that out, and I hope you enjoy today's show. Sending you off for wonderful, beautiful holiday blessings, solstice blessings, and Happy New Year. We'll be back with more episodes in 2020. I'm here today with my dear friend, Kelly Robinson. We met in Egypt just about 1 year ago, this time last year. And we have developed a friendship over that time. And I've been super inspired about her life and career as a designer and a yoga teacher and her connection to the Big Island of Hawaii. So we have a lot to dive into today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Meredith.
Yeah, so I know that, there's where to start. I know that travel has been a big part of your life. I mean, we met like in a totally other part of the world. And you were actually in the middle of taking a year to travel around the world when we met. But before that, you were working in tech and startups, and I'd love to maybe just hear a little bit about your story of just navigating life and career and to where you are now.
Yeah.
That takes us.
Yeah, it's a big question. I guess I'll start with, after I graduated from university, I kind of did what everyone was supposed to do, which was that I moved to my home city, actually Chicago, and started working a kind of corporate job. And after about 3 months, I was like, wait a minute, this is definitely not for me. I don't feel that anyone here is truly being themselves. And I know that there's a career out there for me where I can truly be myself. And so I left that job and ended up working on board super yachts in the Caribbean and the Mediterranean for about 9 months. And this was a very full spectrum job, I'll say. And that's actually what really turned me on to the world of design, because I was responsible for caring for people. I was a service stewardess, so serving guests on board their meals and drinks. And I got to really see how to set space on a very sort of high level to encourage really open communication and conversation amongst guests and to sort of provide an experience where they could be their true selves. And I learned a lot about the design aspects of how to set and design space to encourage this kind of connection. So from there, I I went to India and had a just a huge awakening from going from a billionaire's private yacht to an ashram in India. You can imagine all of the learnings that came from those two environments. And I really sat with what I wanted to do and how I wanted to serve. And travel kept coming up, cultural exchange, kind of encouraging people to experience other cultures. And when I came back to the States, I, by very many miracles, ended up working for Airbnb when the company was just 10 people, working out of the founder's apartment. And that sort of led to a career in creating conscious workplaces. So I moved to Berlin and worked with Soundcloud to design their space, and then to LA to work for Headspace to create their home, and just several other projects that have come from there. And it just kind of happened. I didn't study design or architecture in the traditional sense. I just kind of really felt this connection and how to create a connection between people and their environment.
Mm. And you learned by doing.
Mm-hmm.
I love how a lot of the spaces that you've designed for these offices are so unique. It's like round spaces, and like even once you told me about like taking note of people that are more like highly sensitive or introverts versus extroverts, and making sure they all have spaces.
Yeah, it's so important. And it was so interesting to note the difference between, Airbnb, which was a company about travel where everyone's excited to sleep in other people's houses. And then SoundCloud was all musicians. And so they're way more introverted and wanting to, their creative outlet was music. And so, yeah, learning as I went to know like different people and different tendencies, and making sure everyone felt at home.
I love this story of how you actually ended up working at Airbnb. Like you were persistent. And I wonder if you could share a little bit about that, because I feel like that's a big lesson. A lot of us like give up on things, but like when you really believe in something or know something in your heart, like it can happen. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yes, I can. So before I joined Airbnb, I didn't know at all what I wanted to do, but I knew I started my own business that was going to encourage and teach young Americans to travel before they entered the workforce. I didn't know, I had no plan, but this was just the thing that I knew that was so important. I was really discouraged to find out that, 20% of Americans hold a passport. And so I was just going around and telling everybody about my my feelings and my vision. And I ended up having a meeting with one of the guests that was on board the yacht. And he happened to be an investor in Airbnb. And I went to him. At the time, I didn't know he was an investor. And I went to him and I shared that my mission. And he was like, okay, this is great. I can see you're really passionate about this, but have you considered joining a company? And then he connected me with the CEO and told Brian that, yes, I witnessed her in a professional role, like AKA as a yacht stewardess. He didn't mention that. And he said, but I think you should hire her. And so I went into the company with like a gift basket of like little gifts from different countries around the world and kind of from my travels. And I went for the interview. And at first, I didn't get the job. And I was so devastated because everything in my heart and soul told me I was meant to work for this company. So I cried about it. And I just was confused at the universe because it felt so right. And then I just decided that I wasn't going to give up at that. And so a couple months later, maybe a month later, I reached out again. And I just said, hey, I know that summer is coming. I know that you guys are busy. I really believe that I can be of service to you. Like, please give me a chance. And I think I went in again with another gift or something like that. And finally, they brought me in again for another round of interviews and ended up giving me a job as an intern, which 4 months later turned into a full-time role.
Wow.
Yeah. Really grateful that happened. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so important to stay true to just like what we know in our heart and not give up, not let the universe just like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so there were 10 people working there when you first started, or when you first started interviewing, right? And it grew?
Yeah, I think when when I joined the company, there was about 6 of us that joined all in that same week. And together, I think we were total maybe 12 people. So it was really small at that point. And I think by the time I left, which was 16 months later, we were 250 people. Like it grew really fast.
Yeah. And so how did you end up being given the role to design the office?
So it's so funny because when I walked in there, literally the last job that I had was working on a yacht. And so I really I looked at the space and treated it as if it was a super yacht. And I treated these people like they were my billionaire guests. You know, I just took care of people and I took care of the space naturally. And I somehow intuitively knew that a great office environment would help these people, you know, create this amazing product, which I totally believed in at this point. I could see it. I could see how big Airbnb was going to be, even though it was so small. So I started, you know, organizing happy hour events and ordering in lunches and dinners and just taking better care of the space because no one was really taking ownership of it. And then soon, you know, we moved into a new space because we outgrew the apartment. And I remember Brian said, "Hey, okay, here's $10,000. Like, make it homey and cool." And so I literally like bought stuff off Craigslist, and you know, and like I made curtains that I like had. You know, I hired someone to help me sew curtains, and it was a very creative and fun time. And I essentially just kind of became very motherly towards the whole company. I feel like I was kind of Airbnb's first mom. And, you know, soon later, maybe 4 months later, all of a sudden it was like, "Okay, here's $1 million and here's a 25,000 square foot space. Like, you take the reins on this. Here's some architects, like, do your best." And I was just like, "Yeah, got it. Cool." And I will say there was one conversation that I had with Joe Gebbia, one of the co-founders, when we were working in the apartment. He took me on a little walk around the block and he just said, "Kelly, we want this company culture to be better than Google's." And, you know, at the time, this is 10 years ago, Google was for sure this pioneer in this world. And we were working in an apartment. And so I was like, okay, that's a little bit of a stretch. But yeah, the bar has been set, you know. And so I really felt empowered to, work some magic, create some magic.
Mm.
Yeah.
That feminine energy is so needed.
Especially when they were working so hard and such long hours and so dedicated. I was like, okay, we need more plant-based food. We're cutting sugar. We need to compost. We need to offer yoga. Let's get some massages going. You know, I just was like, because we worked so hard. Like, Airbnb is what it is today because people were really, and I don't want to say working hard, but they were working with such devotion.
Yeah.
You know, and for so many hours every day. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
It sounded like they were really, devoted to a bigger vision. And there was a sense of community and family that developed in the space.
It was a very familial experience and company. Yeah.
What effect do you feel like it has for people to be working in a space that feels inviting and warm? And because most offices are not like that. Like, what did you see how that affected people? And
so many things. You know, I keep asking myself, like, what would it be like if everyone could go to work and then feel healthier by the time they left? Right? Wow, what a world. I think the most unique and interesting things, and the things that surprised me, was that people were very likely to invite guests, friends, and family over to the space when it felt really good and welcoming, which was so beautiful to be able to have people meet each other's family when they were visiting. And it also was really great for recruiting because people would come in and see it and feel it. And they'd be like, "I want to work here." And it just spread so quickly that this was such a powerful place to work. And even there's like surveys that we've done after certain projects, like at Soundcloud, for example, and people experienced like a boost in organizational pride. Like, they felt more proud of the product that they were serving because the space was invested in for them. So those are some, interesting pieces. But people just becoming happier, healthier, better communicating. You know, there's not as much fear lurking around in the office. It's out in the open. People are speaking their truth a bit more. For some of the things that I've noticed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of your life is about balance and finding balance. And even you were born on the equinox, right?
Yes, autumn equinox, equal day of light and darkness.
Yeah. And yoga too has been a big part of your life. So how have you balanced like your spiritual growth with also working in some of these bigger companies?
Yes, that's been a big journey. And I learned a hard lesson at Airbnb actually, because I didn't have that balance and I got burnt out there. And so with each project that I've taken, I've noticed that I've had a bit more strength to step back and spend a little bit less time, yet still keep the impact really high so that I could have more space for my spiritual growth as a focus and more space to teach yoga and to become a birth doula and to kind of follow these other paths that were also nourishing for me to feel like a whole person rather than just making my career 100% of my identity, which is, I think, what often can happen, especially in the startup world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tell me, how did you get interested in the doula work?
Yes, that started back from my childhood. So when I was 13, my mother had my sister, and I would go to every single appointment, ultrasound with her, and I was laying with her on the couch while she was in labor before we went to the hospital, and I was at the birth, and I cut the umbilical cord at the age of 13. So this magic of birth was so deeply ingrained in me then. And it took many years later before I did my training. But when I did the doula training, I just, when you receive information and it's like a remembering, it's like, oh, wow, yes, birth is so amazing. And I called my mom when I said, hey, Mom, I did my doula training and I got my first client. She said, actually, it's your second client because you were my doula. That was really sweet. Yeah. I was like, wow, I was. Like, I didn't.
Yeah. What was it like for you? Being at one of your first births that was just like one of the most like potent experiences. What was it like for you?
Oh, I think my second birth was particularly potent because it was a home birth in the water. Mm-hmm. And it was my dear friend who I was so humbled when she asked me to be her doula, because she was a birth doula herself and I was a brand new doula, and I just felt I remember having dreams about it and having a bit of like work to do because I was like, am I worthy? Can I do it? But yes, she's asking, of course. And just seeing her and supporting her and witnessing the full story in her power, in her way, the way she really wanted to do it. And I just wept when the baby came out because I could sense that there's just this beautiful, empowering way for women to birth. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's a home birth. It can be any way that the woman really chooses. But I just really could sense that she chose and she was fully in her power through the whole experience. And it just was so emotional to know that every woman can have whatever it is that she chooses, and that being supported by a partner and a doula, I think, is a really big part of that vision, is to have that full support.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I'm super drawn to just birth work and just those potent rites of passage in life and initiations. And yeah, a lot of the women I've interviewed on the podcast have been doulas or midwives, and just hearing their stories, and even a few women have shared their birth stories on the podcast. It's just so powerful.
It is.
Women are really amazing.
It is so beautiful to witness. And yeah, like you said, it's a huge initiation. And it's one that so many women have walked before. So it's so unifying as well, which I think is just even more powerful.
Yeah. And at what point did Hawaii and the Big Island come into your life? Because we just got to spend an amazing week together in October. on the Big Island from your invitation. So I'd love to hear more about how that came to be in your life.
Yes, actually, Hawaii came into my world when I was about 10 years old. At school, we all did a project where each person got to choose a state and do a state report, and I chose Hawaii. And I think it was the next year, my dad surprised our family with a trip to Hawaii, and I just loved it. I think I was 11 or 12, and I loved the leis and the trees and the nature and the luau's and the hula dancing and the ocean. I just loved it. It was my favorite vacation ever from childhood. And so I'd always been drawn to go back. And I had gone to Maui a few times and Oahu and Kauai. And then the first time that I went to the Big Island, I think it was really that when we walked out into this lava field and we got to see and stand in front of flowing lava. And that moment of watching the lava woke something up deep inside of me, because it's the same flow of water, but it holds itself a bit more. It's molten. It just felt like the lifeblood of the earth, and it was birthing new land. And to learn that, the Big Island receives an extra, 100 acres every year just from this slow flow of lava. Just something about seeing that really struck something deep within me, and I was dreaming about it that night. And so ever since then, I've just, I've kept going back, because that's the volcano that's really created so much of those islands is there. And to me, it represents a place where you can connect with the incredible plants and fruits of the island, as well as the animals and the insects. And then also the underwater world there is just so, so powerful. And then, of course, Mauna Kea, right, which right now is under just a lot of resistance, but having access to the portal of the stars, right, it's the best night viewing in the whole world, which is why telescopes are being erected like crazy up there. But so it just has everything. It has all of the things of the ancient things that humans have worshipped forever. And so, yeah, it just feels like a special place to me.
Yeah. I'm so grateful that you invited me there. And I had this feeling that for whatever reason earlier this year, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to the Big Island in the fall. Not knowing that this was before I was talking to my family about it, seeing who wanted to come with me. And then it just worked out that you had a birthday trip and you invited a bunch of goddesses to come and spend this time with you. I remember one of my dreams was to swim with dolphins, and that got to happen there that week. And not to mention just the sisterhood that was created that week was, I think, super healing for all of us. Just, a lot happens with women when we're growing up, and competition and comparison, and just to really be with other women who just see each other with so much love and really sees each other's greatness. Super healing, and looking out for each other. We went on this big hike, and I was like, I'm scared of being left behind. And you're like, you're going in the front. And then we put Ambra in front of me, who would set the pace. But yeah, I just felt super held that week. And yeah, do you want to share more about what that was like for you?
Yes, I also felt super held that week. Om Namah Shivaya. Yes. So, I think we started planning that trip maybe 6 months before. And it was originally a gift and still was a gift from my beloved partner at the time. And I remember him saying to me, if you could have anything in the world for your birthday, what would you want? And I just took this moment of thinking really big and closed my eyes. And I was like, I want to be on the Big Island of Hawaii with all of my favorite sisters. And he was, very beautiful in allowing my dreams to come true. And so he began to organize this this offering, this beautiful week. And so I invited everyone, was so excited. And as time drew closer, I was still just like so looking forward to that because, you know, I was traveling for 1 year with my partner and I was missing the sisterhood. It was normally a very close part of my life. And at this point I was feeling like I had lost that a little bit. And wow, as the universe would have it, just a couple of days before we actually physically gathered, my partner and I decided to separate. And so what was meant to be a birthday celebration with all of my favorite sisters and my like divine man kind of guiding the whole thing ended up being a rebirth day with him leaving and me being held by all of you in the most divine, ancient, womanly way as I just completely shattered and broke and just hit my knees every day. So it was a slightly different experience than, you know, I had originally thought, but looking back, wow, was it so beautiful, you know, so powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. And like what I said to you is just like we went even deeper because of that. And it was just like so real. And we all experience heartbreak and we've all experienced grief and loss and change. And so it was a gift for us to witness and to hold space for you too during that week.
Yeah, and you were especially a really big part of that, Meredith. And I remember that conversation because, you know, as is understandable, part of my grief that week was that I wanted this week to be about like everybody receiving and just us being able to just bliss out there. And I remember feeling guilty that I was feeling so heartbroken. And you just looked me in the eye and you just said, "Oh, but I see it the opposite. I see it as such an opportunity to go deeper now." And that just immediately shifted everything for me. And I really honor and appreciate your wisdom in moments like that. It's very powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm a Scorpio rising. So I'm just like, yeah, let's just go there.
Oh, and we did.
Yeah. What did you learn about sovereignty during that whole journey?
Oh, I'm still learning. Wow. Yeah, I mean, ultimately it's a balance, right? Between being vulnerable and asking for help and, you know, knowing when you need support and reaching out for that and allowing yourself to be held. And of course, like digging deep within, you know, like Sekhmet, right? Like the lioness who goes on her own to birth her babies and leaves the pride and hunts for herself and feeds her children and only then comes back, right? This inner sovereign being who is married to oneself, you know, this divine union within. And so I think specifically in that week and now, I've been learning how much I had not prioritized my sovereignty, how much I had lost of that. And I think in the time I was considering that I was, you know, just melting into partnership. But I do now looking back realize that there was a major imbalance there, and that reclaiming that sovereignty within myself, specifically the masculine energy within myself, is a really important part of my healing process now.
Yeah. It's important that we find, our inner strength, our inner compass, our inner pillar. And I think about this question sometimes of just checking in with myself. Like, it's so beautiful to be in a partnership and to be able to share so much, but sometimes we can let a partnership kind of take over some of our own personal dreams. Just be like, oh, but I'll just do that later because I just want to, you know, enjoy with my partner. And I remember specifically, like when I was writing my book at that time, it was such a hard and new experience. And like, I just kind of felt like it was just this inner wisdom. Like if I just put my partnership in front of this dream and don't really create the space that I need for this, like, we're going to have to break up. And like, it was just this really clear wisdom of like, keep, to always check in with yourself. Like, if I was totally on my own, what would I be doing right now? What would I be doing differently? What dreams would I be stepping towards? I think as women, that's, important for us to stay aligned with our inner compass.
Beautiful. Yes. And, I do think it is so common and so easy and so tempting to just enmesh so deeply with another and lose ourselves in the other, because on a certain level, it feels really good, right? That much capacity for connection. And I'm doing this amazing course on relationships now, where we were taught the difference between like a battery relationship and like a really truly conscious relationship, where, in the battery style, you're kind of plugging into each other and kind of needing to be fed from each other. And in the conscious style, you're already whole, right? You're already sovereign. And then you're creating a garden together. You're going to God together, however you want to say it. And I've really learned so deeply the difference there. And like the pain has taught me that I for sure won't make that mistake ever again. That the sovereignty I'm reclaiming now will be mine forever. It's just so clear and feels really good to know that. Well,
do you have any wisdom for other women out there who might be going through heartbreak or grief right now?
Yes. Oh, you're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. It's okay. It is so hard. I think that grief is, especially heartbreak, is not often really regarded as such a deep loss, but it's a death in a way. And so to really honor the grieving process and to allow it to, transform you, and to know that, just to keep being reminded that it is temporary, all of the chaos and all of the feelings and the shattering, the abandonment, the rage, all the stages of it are normal. I've personally found that learning more about the process has helped me feel much more normal, that what I'm experiencing is textbook of what every single person who goes through deep loss in heartbreak experiences, so that you're not alone, and you will heal, and you'll even come back stronger than ever. It's preaching what I'm learning right now.
Yeah.
Thank
you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I think I'll share, last summer, I was on this camping trip, and I don't know if I even told you this, but I'm telling you now if I didn't. I had a dream one night, and it's been several years since I've led an international retreat, or like a retreat in a tropical location. And I had a dream one night on that trip, and I was like totally unplugged and away from all technology, and I was starting to plan another retreat. And this was the first impulse I felt since leading one 3 years ago. I hadn't felt the impulse to lead another one. And in the retreat, we were actually like, the feeling was we were staying in someone's house, and there was someone cooking all the meals for us. And it was just like a easeful and intimate. And like the last retreat I had led was at this like kind of more fancy retreat center, and there were just a lot more logistics, bringing people halfway around the world. It was in Bali, and I was doing a lot of it myself. So and it was the first time. So there was just a lot of different pieces I was holding through that. Mm-hmm. And the feeling of the dream was just like, you're supported. It's so easy. It's just coming together. And so we had this beautiful week on the Big Island, and I had just mentioned to you, like, if you ever want to lead a retreat together, let's talk. And like a couple weeks later, you wrote to me and were like, I miss the Big Island. Let's go back. And then also the dream told me it was like April or November. And you're like, let's go in April. So we're leading a retreat together. Anything you want to share just on your side of that, all of that?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was so moved to be invited to collaborate with you when I was in the midst of a heartbreak. I was like, oh, wow, she really can see me, because you can see that all of this pain is not really me. And I just felt so, it just feels really beautiful to know that this is coming. And, I think the thing I'll say about it, for me, the Big Island really brings out this kind of wild woman, this wild, adventurous woman that is, hiking through the lushness and swimming with the creatures of the sea. And, I've traveled so much, and really I feel that access to these parts of nature are just so powerful. And there's this specific bay where we're holding this retreat, which has been sacred to the ancient Hawaiians forever. And this is where the dolphins come. They come in and they swim, and they've just hunted, so they're jumping and flipping, and they're so friendly and playful. And it's also a place where whales come in to give birth. This bay is very, very special. And to be sleeping there, just above it, to be enjoying meals there, to be doing these sacred practices together as women there in this powerful portal. I just get so excited to be able to offer it.
Yeah, I know. To get to share this with more people is really a gift. And I agree. The adventure of the Big Island, it was really like opening and healing for me. I loved like being in my body on that hike and doing the snorkeling, and like we got to see dolphins on our last day of the retreat. And dolphins, from what I know about them, they literally are anchoring a higher consciousness on this planet. They're here to be like loving anchors of just divine consciousness for us humans to help our evolution. And I know you have a really special connection to them, and just like how excited you got when they came, because they are wild, so we never know, but like they came, and yeah, they're just super healing.
And I've always felt a really strong connection to really all animals, and I kind of sense that the animals know what humans are doing, to them, and they can feel it. And the fact that these dolphins, they know what our species is doing to the oceans and to the planet right now, yet they come anyway, and they leap and they flip, and the babies are learning how to leap and flip, and they're giving this love to us anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the reconnection that I want to share with so many people. Yeah. It's just so powerful.
Yeah, they're teachers. Sure. Yeah. So their tree is coming up April 17th to 22nd. It's a gorgeous house right on the bay where the dolphins come in. We have Jasmine. Do you want to talk about Jasmine?
Just like the most amazing, like, chef is not the word. Like a shamanista. She knows where to get the best mangoes on the island, and her brother has an avocado farm, and she like just a bounty of the produce, and she creates it with such love. And she's a part of the sisterhood, she's really a part of the group, and just the biggest heart ever. She held me through my heartbreak too, and so she'll be back with us preparing incredible meals, nourishing meals with the island's best produce for lunches and dinners. Yeah. So grateful to have her.
Amazing. And we're both yoga teachers, so there will be yoga classes, and both like more yin style and also gentle flow. And I'll bring my sound bowls. We'll do some sound healing. Maybe I'll bring my harmonium too for some singing.
I loved when you sang before. Yes.
Yeah. Cacao ceremony we'll do, really dropping into the heart space. Anything else you want to share about the week?
I do think sharing a beautiful hike together and really like moving through the kind of feels like a jungle, this hike that we do. Is really powerful and beautiful. And Yeah, I mean, really the energy of the island is really about rebirth, right? This lava is coming. It's the freshest. It's infant Earth, and so it's a way to really step into a new cycle. So the retreat ends just the eve before a full moon. So we'll together as sisters close out a cycle together and step into a new one together. And it just feels really right with the energy of the island. And I'm just so grateful to be doing that with you, Merida.
Yeah, me too. Super grateful. Yeah. And just another piece I'm remembering is like it there was something for everyone just around like if you were, extroverted and wanted to be around people and like really connecting, and if you wanted to be introverted and kind of more in your own space, or even like our dinner times, like there was room for everyone to speak, and just like you were just such a mama, like checking in with everyone and asking questions, and just really like brought that like strong container energy, which was so healing for all of us. And so this is a very like just this offering was guided to us from our heart. It's going to be intimate. It's like 8 to 10 women, really. So definitely, if you're interested and you're listening and you're like, oh my God, I've wanted to go to the Big Island, I definitely feel like if you're meant to be there, like we have a sacred contract, like all meant to be there at this time and
oh yes,
listen to it. And so we've been creating the page. It's risingwomanleaders.com/retreat. All the details are there. You can apply. We'll be going through applications and connecting with people over the next couple weeks, and we would love to have you there. So
yes, join in the magic.
Yeah. Anything else in your life that you're looking forward to, excited about, want to share about?
Well, I'm really excited about this new decade that is upon us. I feel a really huge shift just on the collective level, really stepping into this. And so I'm excited to be journeying through the solstice, Christmas, and New Year's period. I'm going to be journeying deep, working with some powerful healers to really kind of upgrade and move through this process that I'm in now to step into this decade with service back like fully in my heart and just really becoming even more of who I already am. And so I hope you're also feeling ready and excited for the new decade. I hope everyone is.
I know. Yeah. I've been hearing things about like the portals and everything that's opening and 12/12 and 20, the energy. I feel it. I feel there's an ascension happening. There's so much more available to us. Time is like speeding up and slowing down at the same time. And so it's a blessing to get to just, connect with women on this podcast and learn so much from people, and to see what we're all being guided to at these times. Thank you so much for being here. Do you have any closing words, any nuggets you want to leave us with before I close with a short prayer?
Yeah, thank you, Meredith. Thank you so much for having me and all these amazing women that you've pulled together. I think the storytelling that you're facilitating is truly powerful. And just a reminder, just that every woman carries her own unique medicine, and every medicine is equally potent. And that's, to me, what's been such a beautiful blessing of sisterhood, is to really recognize and see every woman for who they are and the medicine they carry, and just welcoming the weaving that we're all doing together. So just for anyone out there who's if anyone's feeling a little low, just know that I see you and I see the medicine you carry, and we're in it together.
Yeah. So let's just close our eyes for a moment and just invite all of us to breathe it in and to drop down into the heart. And to recognize yourself for being exactly where you're at, and the unique medicine and the essence that you carry, just being who you are, is so needed. Breathing that in. And remembering that you are not alone. You are never alone. There's so many other people out there, so many other women out there who are just ready to see you and welcome you and support you. And even if you do feel physically alone, the higher realms are being here to see you and support you in every moment. And that when we come together in these spaces of sisterhood, just how much is able to be transmuted and healed and elevated, elevating each of us into our highest potential. So bringing my hands to my heart, just giving a bow, sending you off with lots of love. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thanks so much for taking the time to listen to our show today. We would love to hear what you think. Take a moment to hop on over to iTunes and leave us a review. We'd be so grateful to receive it. Until next time, namaste.